Welcome to Your Idea Grows Here, brought to you by YEDI, York Entrepreneurship Development Institute, a podcast by entrepreneurs for entrepreneurs. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome again to the podcast. We are so happy to have you. My name is Rick Phillips, your host with the most. Today we have a very special guest, André Serero, someone I've known for a decade plus. We will get into that. As you know, this podcast is by entrepreneurs for entrepreneurs, and it is unscripted. Except I read a little bit at the beginning to make sure that we introduce our guest properly. So here it is. André Serero is an accomplished senior executive with extensive experience in business and law and was a C-suite executive in the media and international telecom businesses. André teaches at Ryerson University's Ted Rogers School of Management and at Ryerson's Faculty of Law. And he's a lawyer. He is also a member of the Ted Rogers Leadership Center. Over the last decade with YEDI, André has provided specialized seminars for entrepreneurs, both in Canada and internationally, on a wide range of topics, including Canadian business on the global stage, entrepreneurial leadership and building successful teams, strategy for raising funds, stakeholder management, and legal aspects of doing business in Canada, to name a few. I believe entrepreneurs out there listening are probably thinking, wow, that sounds like some information I need to know about, might concern my business, and I think you're right. So I'm going to turn it over to André. André, before I turn it over to you, I just want to say that you are a lawyer, but you're a fantastic teacher. The feedback we get is that it's relatable, that you're able to simplify things even though law is not simple. What's your secret?
Well, I don't know if it's so much of a secret as much as I love what I do. So first of all, thank you for having me here, Rick. We have known each other for a decade, and I'm thrilled to be part of this. One of the common traits of entrepreneurs anywhere, in Canada, around the world, etc., is their passion, is their excitement, just enthusiastic. They're just looking to innovate, try something new, do something that exists, but to do it better. So there's a passion, there's an excitement around what they do. And what I try to bring to the table in terms of the teaching piece of it is the same thing. I try to bring my passion and excitement for teaching, for coaching, for mentoring. And I love it, I enjoy it, and I want that enthusiasm for it to come through in everything that I do. Working with entrepreneurs is so much fun, right? Right. Because of that passion, because of that excitement, but also to work with them to help them achieve that next level of success. So we're working with people who either have a really strong idea but need to develop it, or they have a strong business plan and they've gotten a little bit off the ground, they want to take it to the next level. So helping them achieve that, helping them realize that they have to go from being an island of one to surrounding themselves with a team that is going to help them execute on that vision, becoming more leaders, less managers and doers. That's a lot of fun for me as well. Hemingway famously said, "No man is an island, we are involved in mankind." And that is especially true in entrepreneurship, right? These are the next leaders, these are the next people who are going to guide us into the next century, and it's very important that they're not alone, I suppose, right? Absolutely, absolutely. And understanding the tools that they can deploy to take their businesses or to take their idea, if they're at the seed stage or the idea stage, to the next level. Helping them add things to their entrepreneurial toolkit to allow them to take a great idea or formulate that idea into a great business plan, or take a great business plan and execute on that business plan, or pivot as required, as many entrepreneurs have had to do, in particular through the pandemic, and providing them the tools, the tips, the techniques, the best practices to do so. That's what makes it fun for me.
André, I want to ask you a question. Maybe it's a classic question. What's the difference, in your opinion, between a leader and a manager?
So one of the common pitfalls or areas for improvement or success for entrepreneurs is really understanding that their job, their most critical job, is to lead, to set the strategic direction, to have the vision, to articulate the vision, to get people to buy into the vision, to build the teams that will execute on this vision, and not to do or even to manage. We're all human. We're all good at particular areas, and we all like to do things that we're good at. Entrepreneurs are no different.
So we're going to default, all of us, to things that we're good at. And we're going to do those things. We're going to do other things, but maybe with a little less enthusiasm. And we're going to spend most of our time doing things that we're good at. And over time, we're going to surround ourselves with people who work for us, and we're going to manage them. We're going to look over their shoulder. We're going to provide them tasks. We're going to course correct. We're going to basically tell them what to do, how to do it, course correct it if they're not doing it exactly the way we want to. So that's managing. The real success, the area of success is to lead, to surround yourself with a team and provide them the platform to take you to where you think the organization ought to be, or to help allow you to reach heights you might not even have thought are possible of reaching. So really, to providing the platform, to provide the ability to empower them, to share a vision with them, to provide a pathway for them to feel valued and for them to feel successful and for them to feel part of the ventures, the entrepreneurial ventures success. That's leadership. And that's hard because there's very few places that teach it. And learning it and becoming better at it is, I think, the key ingredient to success in any venture, and in particular, a new venture by an entrepreneur.
It's a great point, Andre. I want to ask another question. What does the entrepreneur do with this information, the leadership versus management, especially the solopreneur or the person just starting out, or maybe they don't have that team built yet? What they do with this knowledge of leadership versus manager? They might be thinking, don't I have to wear both hats?
At the beginning, you're probably wearing every hat. And that's the reality. You're doing, you're managing, you're leading, and you ought to. You're alone. And you haven't built your team yet. You have to sell the vision. You have to go out and hustle, get the product launched, whatever it is that you need to do, for sure. But there's a migration. There has to be, in order for any project to take it to the next level. So the best thing an entrepreneur can do with that knowledge is to say, I'm now at the phase where I can be comfortable with where I am. I built something and I'm happy with where I am, or I can take it to the next level and the level after that and the level after that. How do I do that? Well, I've got to surround myself with people who are going to be able to execute on my vision. I have to communicate that vision. I have to communicate the excitement around the vision. And then I have to create the foundation for them to be able to run with it and to really kind of take us to where we want to go, and often to places we didn't even know we wanted to go or could go. And so it's really about finding the phase that you're in, the level that you're in, and recognizing that at every juncture, if you will, you're going to need to surround yourself with stronger team and providing them the tools and the opportunities to help your organization grow and take it to the next level.
Great. I want to follow up on that and throw my 2 cents in and see if you agree. It seems to me that if an entrepreneur is serious about growing past a hobby business or just a private consulting business, they really need to not do it alone. It's really, really important that they get somebody, anybody. Is that fair?
Sure. And so one of the things that I like to talk to entrepreneurs about, and it's probably the easiest first step for most, is the value of mentorship. So sometimes an entrepreneur knows that they need to do more or to surround themselves with more people, but they don't know how. Or they don't know how is the right way for them to do it. Find a mentor. That mentor may one day join your team, either as a board of advisor member or board of director member or in some other capacity. But out of the gate, find someone who's been successful in your sphere. Find someone who's been successful in a similar business. Find someone who's been successful full stop and ask them how. Get them to share that knowledge with you, and in exchange, you share your passion, you share your excitement, you share your enthusiasm, share your why. One of the things that is often, or I often notice as a stumbling block with entrepreneurs is this person or that person, why would they speak to me? Why would they help me? And one of the things that I found over the years, and it may sound counterintuitive to our listeners, is the more seasoned, the more successful someone is, the more likely, in fact, They are to help you, to mentor you, to guide you. So, and the reason is simple. Somewhere along the way, they got help. Somewhere along the way, someone guided them and mentored them. So the biggest advice I can give to someone who really doesn't know how to integrate that, find a mentor. Find two. Label it mentorship. Don't label it mentorship. It doesn't matter. Someone that you can connect with, who you can share some of your challenges, some of where your direction, how you want to grow, and who can help you identify ways for you to fill particular needs or approaches that you might take or see things that you may not see from your vantage point.
Mm-hmm. Excellent, excellent. So we're talking about stakeholder management, building a potential board of advisors, not even necessarily using the formal title of advisor or board for that matter. It might be a mentor is a coffee buddy. It might be someone who is a friend of a friend or a neighbor who's got some expertise. As you said, success breeds success, steel sharpens steel. Finding that person and connecting with them is the first step. And later on, there might be an opportunity where you say, look, I've got to apply for some funding, or I'm putting together a website, or is there a way I could maybe label you as an advisor or a mentor? And they're probably at that point, go, sure, yeah, why not? We're having coffee once a month for a few months. Why not?
Absolutely. People want to be around people who are excited by what they do. Mm-hmm. People love people who are enthusiastic, who have a passion. So if you can share that passion and that enthusiasm, people will gravitate to you, including people who have been successful in their own right. And being able to leverage that experience, both in terms of the information that you receive, but also as a strategic advisor on your website or on a potential board of advisors, etc. That's invaluable. Mm-hmm. Right? That's the human capital that you can draw upon.
Excellent, excellent. And as a communications expert, if I may dare say, Tony Robbins once famously said, people like people who are like themselves or who you aspire to be. I think that's a very interesting point, is that we also are attracted to people who we aspire to be. And that certainly can take the shape of mentorship as well. Excellent. I want to also broaden this conversation out a little bit and talk a little bit about your international travels. You are an international man of mystery. You've traveled different places. You've told some wonderful stories in class. And you're probably wondering, well, Rick, I'm not going to talk for like 3 hours about travel. Give me something. So here it is. The topic is negotiation. It could be successful or not successful. That is the topic. Negotiation, international business, go.
Wow. That's a big topic, Rick. So like with most things, negotiation isn't something you wing. If you think you can show up to a negotiation and just wing it and be successful, it's not going to happen. Mm-hmm. Whether you aspire to be a great basketball player or a great negotiator, if the first time you're shooting a free throw is Game 7 of the NBA championships, you're probably not going to hit that free throw. You may, probably won't. So what does that all mean? It means preparation. Understanding what your key drivers and objectives are. Understanding what the key drivers and objectives of the person or the entity that you're negotiating with are. Sharing those interests in a way that is relatable, in a way that expresses a commonality of purpose, and then finding that sweet spot between what you're looking for and what they're looking for.
Mm-hmm. And can you think of a time when that came to your mind, more or less? I mean, you're talking about preparation, I get that. Was there a moment in time when you were in the middle of negotiations and you said, aha, this is, I can see it, I can smell it, this sweet spot, it's coming to the surface?
Yeah, in almost every negotiation, there's something that happens. You go from a point where you're adversaries, where you're staking out positions, you're trying to find the edge, you're trying to find the common ground, and there's almost something imperceptible that happens. Mm-hmm. And even if you're on opposite sides of the table, you're now going in the same direction. Mm-hmm. It's hard to describe, but you know it when you feel it. Mm-hmm. When you understand, as the other side does, and this transcends borders and it transcends languages, that you're no longer hunting for the best deal, but you're now rowing in the same direction to get that deal done.
I call that being in confluence.
Yeah,
it's like two rivers joining into one. It's in confluence.
Exactly. I like that. Yeah.
Right. So international travel, international business, entrepreneurs are thinking as well, maybe my product or service is available in other markets. There might be business trips available. Certainly, I've taken advantage of business trips abroad to go to new places. You have as well. Tell us a little bit about, and again, this is a big topic, I understand that, but maybe just a little tidbit about international travel. You can narrow it down to a particular story if you'd like. That might be easier to tell a little tidbit story of a learning lesson or of a negotiation or just of a good story of how business and international travel came together for you.
Well, I guess there's a couple ways to go here. One of the things I'll say, particularly for entrepreneurs in Canada who aspire to do business outside of Canada, the Canadian flag and the Canadian values travel exceedingly well. Who we are as Canadians, our respect, our tolerance, the fact that so many of us descend, first generation, second generation, from somewhere else, our respect for others, our inclusiveness, that travels well. And so those values, whether you're in the Middle East, in Asia, in South America, in Europe, they resonate with people. Mm-hmm. We're authentic, we're genuine, we're transparent, we say what we mean what we say, we accept people for who they are. Those are fantastic values. And we can compete, and I know this because I've been there, we can compete with anybody. We can compete with big countries, small countries, big organizations, small organizations. We have the intelligence, we have the skill set, we have the educational training and background, including the work that YEDI does. So it's really just a question of understanding that we have, I think, that extra edge that sometimes separates us from others. And what's that? It's all the things that make us Canadian, that make us proud to call ourselves Canadian. Multiculturalism is a value. Being able to work as we do in Canada all the time without even thinking about it, especially in the larger urban centers, with people from different backgrounds, people from different traditions, different ethnicities, etc., etc., etc. That transports so well. So it's not really an experience, a particular experience, which I know is what you asked me, Rick, but it's really more of a word of encouragement for Canadians who might be doubting themselves or just a little bit unsure. Can I take what I've done here on the road? The answer is a very enthusiastic yes, you can.
And that is being Canadian. That self-doubt, that humbleness is part of being Canadian. And sometimes we shoot ourselves in the foot. I remember when I started out a million years ago, I was getting advice from people saying, oh, don't use a .ca for your website. Use a .com. You'll be respected. You'll have the American audience. I, of course, listened to their advice and got a .ca because I'm a proud Canadian. It has not hurt me as far as... And then later on, I did get the .com to match. But certainly at the time, I was thinking to myself, why would I hide where I'm stationed? Now, I also, in truth, my primary market was the Toronto GTA market. That was also part of it as well. But to dovetail with what you're saying, and to the listeners out there, absolutely be proud of your country and don't hold yourself back because the flag travels well. It's a great point, Andre.
The flag travels so well, and the reality, too, is for so many people who don't live in Canada, we're the solution. We're the answer to what they're driving towards. When people think about opportunities for themselves, for their children, for schooling, for all of the reasons we know, they think to Canada. You guys have figured it out. Now, as Canadians, we sometimes like to look at the problems more than the successes that we have, and that is another thing that makes us very typically Canadian. And we have values that transcend, we're not Americans, right? We're not what you see on TV about the US. So we have values that go beyond that, and we should be excited to share those values. And I think that that's one of the things that allows us to stand out from the crowd.
Yes.
And it travels so well. I agree with you.
Excellent. I want to talk a little bit about legal stuff. I think entrepreneurs, especially at the early to mid stages of their journey, their e-journey, they think to themselves questions like this. Do I need a lawyer on my board? or someone on contract. That's the first question they might have. Second question is, should I get all my contracts reviewed by a lawyer before I sign them? Won't that be expensive? Won't it break the bank? I'll leave it at those two questions. Can you give some insight on that?
Yeah, so the first thing I would say is, for entrepreneurs, the most important thing is to understand the legal landscape for the business that you're in. So understand what matters, understand what's critical from a legal but also from other perspectives to your venture and to your business at that stage. And you don't have to be an expert yourself. No one would expect you to be, but you need to at least understand the legal environment in which you live, in whatever business, whatever venture you're in. So that's the first thing. And there are lots of opportunities for you to educate yourself in that space. Lawyers love to give seminars. Lawyers love to give free seminars. Up and coming lawyers love to give seminars.
Some even teach.
So they can, and some of them even teach. But the idea is you're a future client. So you will get this information from publications, you'll get it from talking to people at different events. They want to share that knowledge with you, soak it in. So educate yourself, number one. So that'll allow you to make the important decisions that you're going to need to make, which is, what are the areas that are critical to my business? What's going to harm me from a risk perspective, and what do I need to fix from a risk mitigation perspective, like the big stuff. And conversely, what can I do to give myself an edge? What are the areas, whether they're in the areas of contract or other areas, that will give me an edge over my competitors, etc. So the easy one is IP, right? Getting something trademarked, getting a patent if you've got something that's patentable. Just if you're in that space, knowing that so that you can be first to protect yourself with respect to that intellectual property. So the first piece of advice that I would say is, understand what's important and understand what isn't from a legal perspective, and that'll change over time, but at a particular point in time. And that will drive the next series of decisions, which is, so how do I need to relate to lawyers? Do I need someone on my team? Do I need to have someone on retainer? Do I need to have someone who I can call during daytime hours or in the middle of the night, depending on the kind of business that you're in, who'll take my call and who'll guide me and who'll be able to help me? But the real first activity is, what are the areas of legal risk or legal opportunities for me, for my business at this stage? And most of that stuff you can get for free.
I love it. I love it. So if I was to summarize what you said, for no reason at all except for the fact that I like to summarize things, I would say know where you're at. Meaning, where are you in your country, province, jurisdiction, first of all, and what the laws may or may not apply to you, and then know where you're at on your business journey. Why worry about IP protection and trademarks and patents if you're not even close to doing your prototype? You're stressing yourself out, right? So know where you're at on that journey, know where you're at physically, and if you're going to do business in another country, we have to know the laws there, right?
So knowing who the right lawyer is and having a trusted enough relationship with a lawyer for them to be able to say to you, in this space, here's who I'm going to refer you to. It's not me. Here's where I'm going to refer you to. They're the ones who do this the best. That's what I think you're aiming for out of the gate.
Excellent. It makes total sense. The idea that either you're going to pay for the service, and the expression that comes to my mind is you get what you pay for. It's a very, very valuable expression. Or if you want to have, in this example, a lawyer as a stakeholder, whether that person's a friend, advisor, mentor on the board, etc., then you, my friends, have to be prepared to offer something in return. Is it monetary? Is it some valuable opportunities for them to do business? And then, sure, that might actually happen. They might be on your board. In the beginning stages, though, think about it carefully. What is in it for them to be a mentor to join my board? Just think about that. I think that's a good way to leave this conversation. Andre, I could talk to you all day, and lucky for me, I'm going to be sitting in one of your lectures tonight, so I get this opportunity to hear you all the time. And even though we've known each other for 10 years, I'm still learning from you. Our listeners out there who want to hear more, who maybe want to connect with you, or where can they find you? Can we direct them to the profile on the YEDI page? Where else might they find you if they want to connect with you?
So thank you, Rick, for those kind words. And truth be told, we're learning from each other. I learn from you every day. Every time we connect as well. I'm old school, so my social media presence is regrettably almost non-existent. So probably the best way for people to connect with me is through YEDI. I value my relationship with YEDI. As you know, I'm very proud to have been associated with YEDI since its inception. Since day one, and for many more years to come, I hope.
Absolutely.
So that's probably the best way.
Excellent.
For people to connect with you.
Absolutely fair. Great. Let me wrap this up. Ladies and gentlemen, entrepreneurs, fellow entrepreneurs, thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate it. I hope you've gotten some valuable information and knowledge from Andre and from the podcast. Please continue to subscribe, pass this along to your friends, fellow entrepreneurs or business people and leaders who may find this valuable. We really appreciate it. So for now, I'll say good night, good luck, good hunting, and may the force be with you. We hope that you subscribe to our podcast. You can subscribe on Apple and Spotify podcasts. We're going to have weekly episodes. I will see you next week, or you'll hear me next week anyway. Join our conversation. Our hashtag is Your Idea Grows Here.